audience, because I feel like without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to just jump on a screen
Oh, wow,
and
what a
talk about
compliment.
politics.
Wow.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
But Bermuda Youth Connect started in 2020 because they called the SNAP election. And it's myself, Ajay Peets, Haley Tiart, and Veronica Swandegraaff. And we just felt like young people were not being tapped in enough. Like politicians were going door to door, but very few of them had social media accounts. And we're young people on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. But we felt like politicians were not meeting young people where young people were. So we were like, okay, let's do something called Bermuda Youth Connect, where we try to engage with politicians the way young people engage on social media, on interviews, yada, yada, yada. And from that, we became this group spontaneously that was talking about things young people care about, climate change, gender justice, colonialism, whatever the case may be. And we kind of evolved naturally because we cared, and we just felt like young people were missing from the table, or they should be seen but not heard. And also we didn't feel like we were being taught. We all did youth parliament and debates, so we'd always just carried an interest about politics.
Okay.
And then last year, when they called the election while all these students were abroad, we were like, no. Like, we have to say something. So we drafted a statement, and we were like, we don't appreciate the fact that this election was called right after students left, because this was right after Christmas break. So we did a lot of work around like absentee ballots. Like, we just made noise, basically. We literally just made noise about something that we cared about. And then that evolved into us interviewing candidates who were running in elections or in their constituencies, and also bringing students home to vote. So we started with a wide call. If you're a student and you're registered to vote and you want to come back, sign this form. And we really didn't think it would go anywhere. Like, we didn't think people would bite, but we connected with donors who were just super generous and believed that young people should be here. So we were very proud that we were able to bring students back home to vote.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And how many were there that opted on taking up the offer? Approximately, just about.
Yeah, I don't have the exact number, but I would say maybe close to like 30, 40, 50.
Wow.
I don't have the exact number.
And that could be a game changer, because there were constituencies that were on the knife's edge. Winning by 7, 10, 15 votes, Yeah.
A game changer, and I think a catalyst for what came next, because we know the PLP was like, okay, we're going to introduce absentee balloting. Like, we saw that in their manifesto. So we did that, but we also did those election interviews. And then since then, we've kind of been chilling because the election took a lot out of us. But we're still active on our social media accounts. We have like an opinion page on the Royal Gazette where we talk about what we care about and the issues of today. So yeah, that's Bermuda Youth Connect in a nutshell. Just 4 girls who care.
And who are those other ladies?
So it's Ajay Peets, Haley Tiart, and Veronica Swandegraaff.
Oh, wow. You're going to have to write those names down for me.
I got you.
My goodness. You guys have all of these very complicated names. No Sallys or, Cheryls anymore. And your name means flower.
Yes.
So I understand.
So I'm told.
So you're told. Okay. Wow. Amazing. Now, absentee balloting. What would be you guys would have had an incredible amount of time, even since the election, to be bouncing ideas off of each other regarding the criteria that would be a reasonable consideration for the powers that be to consider in how those would qualify who are abroad and absent from the island to be able to cast the ballot while still being abroad and not having to return to Bermuda to exercise a right to be a part of the decision-making process on who should be representing them. What, off the top of your head, if you haven't had any in-depth discussions, do you think should be considered to qualify someone to be able to vote during a general election or by-election for that matter?
From abroad, my firm belief is that every Bermudian should be able to vote, whether they live here, have lived here for years or not, because I think you can be thinking of Bermuda and be invested in Bermuda and not physically be here. Like, I think students are the first stop.
Yeah.
But my firm belief is that a Bermudian should be able to vote, irrespective of whether or not they're on island. And that's pretty, I think, unpopular because a lot of the politicians, like the OBA, they drafted the bill that was like for students and people who are abroad for health reasons or in transit for work.
Right,
and that seems to be the kind of where the Overton window is. Like, people just think it should be students, but I don't think we're thinking big enough. Like, I really do think that Bermuda is a place that you can leave, but you're never really separate from. Like, you're always thinking about it. Like, even in my studies, like, I'm far away. Like, I was in Armenia in boarding school, but I was always thinking about Bermuda. And I don't know, I just feel like we're too small of an island to have people who are connected and interested and have talent, born and bred here, but not able to vote.
So that, I don't know, would be something that would be rather contentious without any supporting criteria. Students, people who have to leave and will be away because of a scheduled surgery or some other legitimate reason, I get that. That's an easy do. But people who are permanent residents of the United States, who are not a part of the tax regime to make a decision on who's going to be running the country, even if they aren't contributing to the tax regime, I don't think that really makes a difference because they're not really going to be living off of taxes because they have not contributed for a period of time at least.
Yeah.
But if they have contributed and they have decided to migrate and live abroad and they are getting pension or they're getting their old age pension or their corporate pension or whatever, they're still vested. They still got an interest because it could impact whether there's going to be an increase in the pension or anything like that. But those that have no vested interest, where they are Bermudian because they're born here and they have Bermudian status, but at a very early age, they left with their parents.
Yeah.
So their parents are Bermudian, they're Bermudian, but they haven't lived in Bermuda, they've just left. They're now been educated abroad, they are working abroad, they have no property interest or any other interest in Bermuda. They just happen to be Bermudian by birth because their parents are Bermudian and they were actually born here. Not even a child that was a child of a Bermudian and born outside of Bermuda and got status because of their Bermudian parents.
Yeah.
These are ones. So these are the different kind of elements that I believe should be looked at and considered on merit as to what would be best case scenarios in all of it. How would you address a situation hypothetically like that, where there's someone who has lived all their lives in Bermuda, they've had their children in Bermuda, and at 6 months of age, they decided, we're retiring early, we're getting out of here, we're going to live in Armenia. And the kids grow up, and they're Bermudian.
Yeah.
But they've never lived in Bermuda.
Yeah. I think it's a really valid concern because, as we know, like, a lot of Bermudians are leaving, whether they're going to the UK or Armenia or the US. Like, a lot of Bermudians are leaving because they feel like they can stay here. I like this idea from Charles H. Jeffers II. He talks about how there can be a dedicated constituency representative for Bermudians who are abroad. And in the US, like in the Democratic Party, they do this. Like, they have Democrats abroad. So whether you are living in Texas or living in Australia, if you're a registered Democrat, you can vote in the elections through this Democrats Abroad scheme. And that's something that I would be interested in, like having a representative in Bermuda who is dedicated to these Bermudians abroad. I mean, I should also say that I think we have too many politicians. I don't think there should be 36.
Okay.
I think we should maybe slash that number, increase the constituency boundaries, and then add someone who is for Bermudians who are overseas.
Okay.
Because I do think you're right, particularly on the tax and pension front. Like we see a lot of young people who are leaving, but these are the people who should be paying into the social insurance fund or the pensions fund. But I think any effort to address Bermudians abroad and voting is also an effort to address like life here in Bermuda, because I know a lot of Bermudians are leaving, but they don't want to, or they're away because they have to do like their pupillage or something, like they're in transit. So I would say I agree. I think the tax situation is something that has to be kept at the forefront, but immediately I still think that shouldn't stop us from allowing people who are overseas to vote. Because perhaps if this family did move to Armenia, but they could still vote, they would be reading the news or listening to your show and kind of develop an interest in Bermuda that would make them think, maybe I could come back, because they can visualize themselves here, they can develop a community, they can develop connections, and that would bring them back, especially in this like digital age now, right? Like everyone is local but also global. So I think that's where I'd start. Like, I think you're right, we have to be cognizant of taxes, but we can be creative and have somebody who just represents Bermudians abroad and then have that filter in through the House.
Wow, we have a young future leader here in the studio. I can tell you, with that level of thinking and the ability to think critically on very serious considerations that will impact the country at large, because we deal with, in democracies, participatory politics. And without people participating in some way to leverage the ability of influence that they could or would have on those charged with that awesome responsibility is quite important and imperative if we are to be the guardrails or the vanguards and the captains of our destiny. Because as I've observed over the last several years, there are so many more people that are coming into Bermuda than leaving, that want to become vested and not leave. That is very concerning to me, where people who are invited guest workers, who we need, can enjoy a life of comfort to a degree that satisfies them to remain. And even further, where they would fight not to leave. While Bermudians are just voluntarily leaving.
It's sad.
It is very, and I can't wait for the census.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's coming in May of this year.
Yeah, because that is going to be a tell-all to a degree. If people have the confidence to share the information. That's very important, to have that confidence and to have that comfort level so that numbers aren't skewed. It's very, very important. I think the government it should be committed to a whole educational process prior to the census to just explain and reiterate why it is vitally important for the well-being of Bermuda to have the data that could be used to develop visionary initiatives, strategies, solutions that would bode well for not just the here and now, but future generations. I think it's very, very important, that educational process where people really become not just interested, but extremely motivated to participate in the census process of gathering that data.
I agree. I 100% agree, and I get excited about these things, but I also think that they're not very popular. Because it's costly in the upfront, and it's not new and sexy, and they can't put it on a poster and say, this is what we did for you. It's education, and that takes a long time to reap the benefits of. But I absolutely agree. I think that should happen. It's just those things don't sell well.
I know, and the thing is that it remains, I think, a reality that the most popular things aren't necessarily always the right things, and the right things aren't the most popular.
Yeah.
But if we got that data, for instance, how many people are functionally illiterate in Bermuda?
Ooh,
is that something that curtails the ability to be employed in jobs that they may be really well qualified to do, hands-on, but they're illiterate, but still can function?
Yeah.
So, a carpenter might be able to read the numbers and measure very good to the degree that he's an ace when it comes to carpentry and building cabinets.
Yeah.
But are there any among them that don't read very well outside of that? And that goes across the board. Having that data would suggest, well, whether we need to address it by way of special programs, even if it's on an anonymous basis, where all of the information of the individual is kept strictly confidential and they are interacted with on a one-to-one basis so that there's no stigma.
That's a big one, especially here, in a small place, right?
Here, where, stigma just kind of goes buck wild. It could start just as a little smidgeling of a, and before it gets from St. George's to Devonshire, by the time it gets to Smith's, it's a whole story.
What's that game, Telephone?
Yeah.
Where it's like you have to say one thing and then you go around the group and then at the end of it,
well, what's the story?
Exactly.
Yeah. So those kinds of things, but that census will give us a lot of information on all areas that we would be interested in having hard data, so that out of that data, the leaders of the country, by way of their political activity as elected members to make decisions and policy on behalf of those they serve, would be extremely valuable. Extremely valuable.
I agree.
So I'm hoping that the general public will look forward to giving information on the questionnaires that they would be presented with. And it's not just going to be about whether, how much salary you're making and that kind of thing. It could be about any number of things. How many trips do you take a year, for instance? How much money on average, if you do take a trip, do you spend? Not on what, just how much.
And not what you put on the customs form, but how much you actually spend.
How much you actually spend. Do you know what I mean? We're not, and I think that the census should be taken without people's names being attached to any of the data.
Yeah.
It should be just data-based.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and we were talking about...
I don't know, maybe that's the case, but I don't know.
I think it is.
Yeah.
At least the way I've seen it done, I haven't participated in one here in Bermuda because I've never been here for it, but at least abroad it's anonymous.
Right.
But we were just talking about participatory democracy.
Exactly.
And this is a way to participate in a way that is of us, but also affects us.
A small thing in a big way. And it helps you in your own cause. Because if you are, even if it's anecdotally suggesting, there are so many people that are living in the country that are homeless.
Yeah.
What's the number?
Exactly.
Is there any thought about, through the grapevine, getting to those people so that they can share their information and things about the challenges that they have being homeless? They still gotta eat. They gotta be concerned about their hygiene.
Yep.
If there are children involved, how many? These kinds of things.
Yeah.
Which would be maybe a specialized area, but it would be as important, if not more important, because a community should only be judged on how well the least able are in a position to survive.
Yes. Oh, there's so much I want to say.
You got it.
Like,
Floor is yours.
I had a friend visiting from Oxford this Christmas, and something she said to me was, "Oh, you guys don't have a big homeless population, do you?" And I was like, aha, We do, but it's hidden homelessness.
And on a per capita basis, it would be right up there.
Exactly, and that's what I was telling her. I was like, you might not see it in the way that you would see it in Los Angeles or New York. Like, they're not sleeping on the sidewalk, although some of them are.
Yeah.
But I had to explain to her that a lot of our problems are hidden and layered. So a lot of people have housing insecurity in that maybe they're couch surfing 1 day, 2 days, and then they have a place, but like they're not really stable.
Right.
And then they kind of fall through the gap because you don't know how to label them. We can't reach them. And it just falls back, I think, to these informational problems, because then you're just in a state of speculation where it's like, okay, we don't know because we don't have the data. But then again, we're missing these groups who are, I guess, in transit or whatever. But as I was explaining that to her, I really had like this moment where I was like, wow, like there are so many problems in Bermuda that are hard to explain or articulate. One, because we lack data, but also two, because we've lacked data for a while and the problem now looks much different than what it was when it started. You know, like not only do we have homelessness, but there's like this cost of living crisis where it's like people are like, okay, I can afford a home, but only from January to August, and then after that, I'm done. So it's tough. It's hard.
Cost of living, huge, everywhere in the world, not just in Bermuda. It is now being touted by many in the United States of America, who are not just politically active, but those that are just average people, normal people. They are beginning to feel it really, really bad, and are all pointing towards the tariffs that were introduced by the president being one of the major causes of goods being so exponentially high in such a very short period of time in relative terms. And then you've got European countries that are putting their feet in the street with huge demonstrations that major media is not even covering, where people are protesting because in those populations, they have huge concerns about the cost of living and the rise in prices of goods that are necessities to put on the kitchen table every week. We don't see that this thing is global, not just something happening here in Bermuda.
True, very true. I mean, I feel for people who are in the news industry today because, I mean, what do you report? Like, there's so much to report, but I think you're right. Like, it's not just Bermuda that is affected by the cost of living crisis, but I do think Bermuda is affected in a specific way because we import everything. We're dependent on trade, our largest trading partner, Florida. So I think there's like a certain dependency that Bermuda has that makes us very, very vulnerable to
and subjected to the changes and the dictates of those who are in that supply chain that we need to access to get the goods that we need. We can negotiate, but we can't dictate, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So that brings to mind something that I'd like to get your feedback on with respect to CARICOM, because there are many of us, you included, who have a lineage directly with Caribbean islands. And those that don't, many of who engage in relationships with Caribbean countries are there as a result of their corporate interest and investments. They would be the ones often to say we shouldn't join as a full member, but yet they're there exploiting in a legal way the benefit of being there, offering their goods and services, whether it be banking, insurance, or whatever. It seems to me to be so hypocritical. Now the world is becoming such a small village as opposed to a global contextual situation because of technology making it so accessible for us to be everywhere. Even if not physically. And with the world and the way it's going, it seems to me to be as important as it could ever be to have as many productive relationships so that you have options that could equate and evolve into contingencies if the norm wasn't so normal anymore. How do you feel about the prospect of becoming a full member of CARICOM, where a lot of our culture is directly and indirectly related?
I think it's interesting. And I think I'm broadly supportive about the prospect of joining CARICOM.
Now, we already are an associate member.
Exactly. I want to be careful here. I want to be very careful here. A lot of the concerns that I see is about like the freedom of movement of people, but like you rightly pointed out, it's hypocritical. Because we already have that in the international business sector. But apart from that, I also hear people saying, is this really going to solve our problem of today? Like, is this going to make eggs cheaper, bread cheaper, like the housing market more affordable? And I think the long drawn answer to that is yes, over a period of time. But in my brain, I just don't know if it's the right step for now. Like, I think it's the right step, but I just don't know if we'll get the support and the buy-in that we need right now.
From
people, Bermudians mostly.
Why?
Because then I think like, when I think about our Caribbean connections, I think, okay, so what is Bermuda? What does it mean to be Bermudian? I don't know. I was never taught that, dude. Like, there's no definition of what a Bermudian is. And I don't think we've thought critically and culturally about it. And I think we should before we talk about, or before we join as a full member in CARICOM.
Okay. The way I see it is that it should be a natural progression. And like anything else, you have to start somewhere.
True.
You can't have all the T's dotted and all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. Because there are things that will change.
Yeah.
Inevitably. Some for the better and some maybe not. But when you've got a collective co-joining where there is common interests to not only insulate yourselves, but to provide opportunity. There are many Bermudians here that are very qualified in various disciplines as career professionals. So if they can't get employment here, for whatever reason, then they have no other option. The same with anyone anywhere else. It's something that we've been dealing with by way of immigration and our workforce forever. There are many people that are saying, well, we need more people. But as soon as you talk about, having the ability to come to Bermuda because you're a member of CARICOM doesn't necessarily mean that the floodgates are going to be open, because Bermuda is very unique.
Yeah.
So anyone who's in government or the leadership position making the policy decision around full membership would, I'm sure, get the respect and caveats, carve-outs, based on our particular circumstance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because we're only 22 square miles.
Yeah, and we have all these Bermudians leaving. So you say, oh, full membership, freedom of movement. What about Bermudians? Like, I think that's a natural, intuitive thought.
And so there could be numbers that become a criteria, depending on, how the government sees full membership impacting the island. So there would be limits on certain things, and maybe carve-outs where that does not apply to Bermuda. Because in every situation,
true,
there are exceptions. That makes sense. That would be a fair compromise compared to the overwhelming majority of what would be the standard.
Yeah, I agree.
And particularly if it's not hurting anybody. Because even if we say only 5 more people can get to Bermuda or come to Bermuda, that's 5 more people that have an opportunity then no opportunity at all. And if we're saying, well, we need more people, and, I'm having this conversation, that's something we ought to really think about and dig deep below the layers. Because, with success for Bermuda, in the context of Bermuda, comes a lot of challenge. So if we say we need even 3,000 more people, where are they going to live when there are people looking for homes? How much more demand on our roads? If we are experiencing potholes and we're resurfacing, how much wear and tear is the resurfacing going to be able to endure before resurfacing needs to be done again?
Exactly. And I think these things come up in people's minds when you talk about CARICOM, and I haven't seen anyone meaningfully or critically engage with it.
I think there's going to be an effort to edify, if not educate, or inform the public with regard to why, what, and that kind of thing. I think that would be incumbent upon the government.
Absolutely.
And if they want me to speak how I think...
They need you, I think.
I have absolutely no problem with that. Because, we need... I often say, I've met and engaged in conversation with many educated fools, simply because with all of the education they have, sometimes they lack just simple, basic, old common sense applied to all the education.
Yeah.
And I think, most people in Bermuda have been resilient and able to survive, if just that, because of utilizing our common sense. And where we've gone off the rails is sometimes we don't even have the luxury of applying common sense because we're trying to keep up with the Joneses because of what we need, not just what we want.
Yeah.
In our challenge to survive in a country that is very developed but very expensive. We're talking about 67,000 people.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
How much does it really take for us all to be really paid well, to live well, as a prototype even, an example of the rest of the world on how it could be done on such a small scale? Because everywhere else, you got to look at the hard numbers, just at the hard numbers. But on the economies of scale, you can't look at it like that, because in the context of capitalism and Keynesian economics, etc., it applies across the board that is standardized without looking at caveats and carve-outs, where you can say, hey, do you know what? We got the thread, we got the material, we got the tape measure. Why can't we do the suit to fit the person, as opposed to it being a cookie cutter situation and it should apply just across the board regardless?
Yep.
I think that's how we're looking at a lot of stuff, and not explaining to our people, hey, listen, if we adapt this or that or the other, it's still going to be very unique to Bermuda because of our special circumstances. Now, that takes vision, that takes a level of critical thinking, and some incredible planning on looking and being a devil's advocate as to what an unintended consequence could be, and what we should or could have in place as a contingency to address it if it should happen. That's the model of insurance companies' philosophies. For businesses that need continuity in times of challenge, where there is something that happens that disrupts their continuity, how can we protect them?
Yeah.
Let's find out how, and if it's something that is highly improbable, well, it's still not impossible. Well, let's crunch the numbers and see, well, when is the last time something similar to that happened? And then, based on that data, decide on what a good, affordable premium is going to be for that exposure to be covered, where the client is indemnified because of the collective contribution of everyone putting in that pot of money and pool for that single or two or three or four that may need it at any given time. And we're not talking about a national catastrophe kind of thing, you know? Magic 102.7. Okay, 297-1027. Telephone line is open and has been going for quite a while, but we've been engaged in conversation. Good afternoon, you're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Blakely, and to your guest there. And I find it quite interesting, especially in the point when you're discussing the voting thing, where she was mentioning how, even people that's living abroad should have the right to vote. Mm-hmm. And I sort of agree with her in that way of thinking. And of course, you did bring up some ways of looking at it as well, due to the fact that they're not living on the island, they're not paying any taxes of it, Mm-hmm. It should be a Bermudian right. We should make that our right. If you're born Bermudian by a Bermudian parent and you have family here, that should stand for something as being a Bermudian, because our population is really not that great. And of course, we're losing a lot of it because of the financial situations that some Bermudians are finding themselves into, and they have to go to England and to reap those benefits as being a British overseas territory citizen.
Yeah. So with that, right? I got a hypothetical to throw at you, right? I don't know how probable it is, but it's not impossible, right?
Right.
What would be your response to the hypothetical if, over time, because of the context of Bermuda and the challenges, people continue to decide to emigrate to somewhere else, right? We're very small numbers, right? So let's say over time, let's just round the figures out. We got 60,000 people, right? And let's say 40,000 people move away. And then there is a bunch of people that are here that has replaced them. And all 40,000 people that are away can vote. The 20,000 people that are on island dealing with all of what they have to deal with, their vote really doesn't count because they're such a minority. And those people that aren't vested necessarily because they aren't actually in Bermuda, they aren't contributing to the tax regime, but they are deciding on how our taxes are going to be paid by those that they put in power. And those that they put in power could be, I don't know, an Indian, a Filipino, an Armenian, because they've now become paper Bermudians or got Bermudian status, so they're equal to the same rights, privileges as we are as Bermudians. And they are deciding, hold on. And they're deciding, and they're deciding on what will be done, not necessarily in the interest of Bermudians.
Okay, all I'm saying, in that part there where you mentioned where we get Albanians or these other kind of people that could be put in power to be able to be the people that's going to run Bermuda. The United States of America, right?
Yeah.
The farthest you can go in anything is to be the governor. You cannot run for president. There's got to be rules and regulations put in place to protect Bermudians from foreign experts or people coming there and thinking because they're here and they get this paper Bermudian. This paper Bermudian thing, talk about your paper Bermudian, and you can now work your way up to this person or that person in the legislation part of it needs to be dealt with. That needs to be that needs to be dealt with in a way where we allow you to get so far. But you're not going to be able to come here and think because it's all like
but now you got a very strong civil rights, department here, and if they're Bermudian, they've met the criteria to be a Bermudian, and they're Bermudian. They join. Hold up.
The only criteria in being a Bermudian to get into the legislation part of Bermuda, you have to be a born Bermudian, and you should have at least a grandfather or something.
That's too little, too late.
No.
The precedent has already been set. There are many status Bermudians who were not born in Bermuda who have served in the legislature.
Yeah, I can understand all that, but that's only because we have allowed that. But now that we can change that. Mm-hmm. We can amend that. That could be amended. That could be amended by the voting people of Bermuda. We can amend that. We can do that on the next general election. That's right. We can put that on the paper of the next general election for people to have another box to tick. If we think that's right. If we think that it should be done, we have to protect us. Listen. Bermuda is I keep mentioning this and people still not caught on. We are the oldest British colony in all of the colonies. We have pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps. And we done things to suit us here in this country to make it beneficial for all the people of Bermuda. It was peas and rice and chicken and potato salad that helped these elder seniors to build those damn houses they're living in right now, where everybody came along and helped one another. But because now that the infrastructure has changed and the people that's doing the building that we taught how to build is now coming in with this money grabbing stuff. Before it was neighbor helping neighbor and this and that. You can go to the store and put your food in a book and pay for it when you had the money, because that's how we was doing it back in the day. This is how Bermuda got to where it is today, through the people helping one another. Yeah. And today we're now all on this education high up in there and think for all this and all that, and they're not realizing actually how you got here into this country or got in the position that you did for the sacrifices of the storekeeper down to the house people. It was back home. It was her mama. They were out working and taking really family. Mm-hmm. But all I'm just saying, these things could be amended. And when it comes to these people, they can come and vote on money, and we can wait our way up and stand over now and control the country because what read something down on a piece of paper. Well, that piece of paper could change.
Exactly.
It could be amended. Exactly. It could be amended to the point where we see this happening now, and we're saying, listen, that's not going to be a good thing for the next generation of the people of Bermuda. We're going to lose our right to be able to control our own country because of money, this and that, and all this paperwork. Change it. We are the government. We have the legislation pen in our hands. And that should go out as far as I'm concerned, it should go out like tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned, in the sense of telling people, letting people know that we are the oldest British colony. We are the emancipators. And I'm not going to let you come here and think that because you can put something down on paper that we're going to accept it now that we see where you're going. Now that we see where you're going and they're just sort of slipping out, but we already got people in these type of positions, we need to rethink that in the sense of saying, listen, this is not good for the next generation of the people of Bermuda. Okay. And this is why our people is leaving and going to foreign countries because they can receive the better benefits that we should be receiving right here in Bermuda, like that big taxpayers' money that we're going to be getting from this international company once they sort all of that out. Okay. That should be a tax refund.
We've got other calls.
Okay, but
so
thank you. I can get around. Wait a minute, let me get off. But you open up a can of worms when you get that worm. And then America didn't stand for it. So don't go down that road as I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm listening. I want to thank you very much.
These are the kinds of things that we need to really have full discussions about, because the reality is that, we have a huge, growing Filipino community here. They're here legally. They're families. If they apply, depending on the criteria that must be met for status, what's in place to say that you can have status if you meet the criteria? So how do we and what do we do to ensure that those that have generational vested interests are indeed thought of and considered in our immigration policy and drafting of that policy? Because it's an ever-changing world.
It really is.
We don't really know what the future holds. If people who are leaving Bermuda, I would deem many don't have a stakehold in Bermuda with respect to real property. It's a question of them being Bermudian and not being able to afford or find a home that is reasonably priced at a rate of rent that makes it a sustainable undertaking for them as a necessity in life. And so they come down to making a decision to emigrate over to the UK or wherever else. Now, what I would implore that our government consider is how we got here in the first place.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. We've got to look at the data.
With that option being a contingency for those people that would be so affected, where they can't find a job that pays them enough to rent a home, or they can't find a home even if they can afford the rent. What are the causes? What are the true hard causes? And if it's because, well, I can pay $1,000 comfortably for a 2-bedroom house, just a number,
Yeah.
based on my salary and my reality. I have one child, so I got a bedroom for me and my wife, and a bedroom for the child, $1,000 a month. We're both working, and we're making maybe $3,000 a month. Yes, okay. We got to pay utilities. We got to buy food. We got to take care of the kids with their clothing needs. We may want to
Take a trip. Yeah.
Everybody does. And so that $1,000 property is available. So I go and I say, I'd love it. I'll take it. And Mr. Blakeney, okay, great. You come back tomorrow, we'll settle it all up. You got to pay a month in advance rent, or 50% in advance for rent plus the month rent. And we're good to go. I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, an international guest worker is looking in the paper. He sees it. Oh, wow, nice place.
Yeah.
I got a girlfriend, and she always likes to come or travel with her friend or her sister or her mom. That extra room would be really great. I could have guests.
And I'll pay 5 years in advance.
Or I'll pay double the rent. Oh. Now, what does the landlord do?
Doubles the rent or takes the double rent?
That's the common sense approach. When the getting's good, you get, well, the getting's good, right?
Yeah.
He calls him, Mr. Blakeney, listen, something came up, man. Goodness, man, I don't know why I let my wife get involved in these things. She's told me that...
Not the wife taking the fall for it.
Wife's gonna take the fall. He told me 2 days ago she already just forgot to tell me it was already rented.
It's funny, but it's real.
It's real. Magic 102.7, good afternoon, you're on the air. Oh, they go on that maybe too heavy a subject for them to deal with. I don't know. 297-1027. But, you know, these kinds of scenarios, right?
Yeah.
I've heard of, and they are real.
Absolutely.
So if you have the ability, because of your income and disposable income at that, to compete, then how do you stop that in a free enterprise system?
Exactly.
The other thing is that then the tenant says, hey, rent control. You know, this house shouldn't be worth that much. Come on average, it's not realistic. So the Rent Control Commission says, I hear you. I agree. But then the landlord comes and says, hey, it's my property. It should be valued what I think it's worth. I got a view. You know, I'm on the top of the hill. I got a grocery store in the neighborhood. Public transportation is 2 minutes away.
Yep. And I have a man from international business who's willing to pay it.
And I got somebody who's willing to pay it. I go, hey, what are you talking about? Rent control. So when it boils down to the politician doing the right things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
For who?
Exactly. I
because the landlord is a voter as much as the tenant. You got to find the compromise. That's not always an easy thing to do. When somebody walks, or both parties walk away from the table and both are disgruntled about something, then you got to compromise.
That's a fair deal.
They walked away from the table and they said, okay, but they're not really satisfied.
Yeah.
That's the least of what the government should be able to do by way of coming to decisions that make sense.
Yeah. And I mean,
and then be able to articulate it to make sense.
And they started the whole affordable housing
initiative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Good
also,
thing.
they're like, we need more houses. Like,
Yeah.
we have to build. Like, we don't have enough houses to house everyone.
And now we got to go up.
Exactly.
The environmentalists say, you can't go up. You're spoiling. Rah, 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 rah. Well, you're saying, and everybody is saying, we need more people to contribute to the tax regime.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because people are retiring. Oh, well, we're going to raise the retirement age. Okay, cool. But they're not going to live forever.
Yep, and also the birth rate is declining.
And the birth rate is
people
declining.
People are not coming
so
back.
who is going to be contributing to the pool that's needed for all of the services we're providing? School teachers, policemen, firemen, people that collect our refuse or garbage.
Yeah.
The important jobs. Who's going to do that if they're not going to be paid a comparable salary that takes care of them renting a home, buying food, paying for their cell phone? You can only sacrifice but so much.
Exactly.
Magic 102.7, good afternoon, you're on the air.
Yeah, I'm calling back. I don't want to keep calling back, but I just want to address that new topic you put there. I'm not going to call back for everyone, but this particular one in the sense of the rent control, in the sense of, when it comes to rent control, and the government does have the right to be able to scrutinize your property, and also in the amount of rent in which that you want to charge the tenant to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, we need to look at, the tenant, the average wage that we're getting now, what, is $17.70 or an hour?
Mm-hmm. The minimum wage,
compared to what, if you add that up compared to what the landlord is asking to pay, you can see that it's going to be difficulty for that family to raise his children, to pay the utilities, this and that, and they have also to pay that rent. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that could be looked at. Mm-hmm. Again, now when it comes to renting an apartment or you own an apartment, some of the things that you should have in place for your tenant, number one, you should have a proper parking. I shouldn't be parking on the damn main road. So you got a view, and that view can't help me because I'm out there 24/7 trying to work. I don't even get a chance to see that view. But when it comes to parking, you don't have enough parking.
Well, that would apply to maybe new developments. But now if you're going back, several years for houses that have been built since time began, and they are in a very densely populated area.
Uh-huh.
There's no space for parking. You got a problem. So you got to look at that problem as much as you have to look at a new development. So going going forward with a new development, I could see the criteria being revised.
Yeah, but if that's the case, in which that your property doesn't have the official parking space for my car and my guest card, that should also look at the price of the rent, should be considered in the price of rent as well. Especially if I got to put my car out on the main road to be bumped, scraped, and scratched, and broken into, and all of this sort of stuff, because I can't park it on the property. There's no proper lighting, this and that on the property. And then here it is. Look what else you got. Look what else you got taken up on the property in which that I'm renting from you. You got your old broken down boat sitting in the yard, your old jet ski ain't working, doing diddly in the yard. They got broken down bikes. They got all of this trash around. Well, I'm gonna come into that apartment with all of this landlord stuff all in the driveway. I can't use your lawn because you got your boat parked there. I can't park my car there because you got this parked there. They got all the concrete mixers, this, that, all this garbage around in the area where I supposed to be renting and paying, and you want $1,500, $3,000 for a studio apartment, and making it seem like you're giving me the world.
Is that how much a studio apartment's going for now?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, some of them is that greedy. If they can get it from you, they'll take it. But I'm just saying because of the area of the thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the rents in which that the landlords is asking the tenant to pay to start off looking at the rates that the average person is allowed to get to be able to pay that rent. You're asking for executive money rent. And of course, yes, we can go out there and get executive people to rent those places. But here's the first thing that all the landlords need to take into consideration. The reason why you are up to where you no longer have a mortgage is because of the Bermudian people that rented your houses for years until you no longer have a mortgage that helped you pay for that mortgage and paying you that rent on time. Now that we got this frustration of international business, all this heavy duty money coming in there, where these companies could pay for the rent right over there, want somewhere for their clients to sleep and have a good and be safe. They're renting them to them. They're not even taking into consideration that the Bermudian people that help you to be in the position that you are right now, help you to pay that mortgage off. And if anyone in Africa comes and say they paid the house off through all interest, they're lying. Because it's the Bermudian people that rented those homes from you, and now you don't have no mortgage, and now that you are now in a position where you got these other clients that can pay these outrageous rent. Take into the consideration your cousin, your sister, your brother, your mom, your auntie, or whoever it is, and they don't have a house. Think of how much they're being paid in order to pay that rent and raise the family. Because we need Bermudian people. We need Bermudian people to keep this country going as it is. We are the oldest British colony out of all of the colonies. I keep saying, and the people need to take that into consideration. We are the emancipators. It's because I'm speaking like this. It's because we had a Mary Prince, because we had a Clyde Bass, because we had people like that broke the barriers from which the rest of the black people around here in the world is benefiting from this country, Bermuda. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, man, very strong opinions this afternoon from that gentleman. Mm-hmm. And he makes some valid points. You know, I can speak as the landlord. I've always been very considerate of tenants. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. You get good tenants, and for the most part, I've had very good tenants. So there's very seldom opportunities for people to approach me for an apartment, and I can say yes because the tenants...
They're good.
They're good, and they're staying in there. I'm sure able to save some of what they're earning. You know, I consider being below market rate.
Wow.
You know,
you're a unicorn because I don't know a lot of landlords who do that.
Yeah. You know, and I've even for family, I've made very special exceptions in situations. It's just who I am. So I don't think I'll ever be rich. And if I ever am...
You're not upselling. You're downselling.
I'm downselling, man, you know. And, you know, so because I do understand, you know, I've had clients such as financial assistance. And when you... or the Bermuda Housing Corporation, and when you provide the opportunity for the house to be occupied by one of their clients, you don't know who you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah, I was hearing about that scheme.
You know you will get your rent and you will get a tenant.
But you don't know who.
But you don't know what the lifestyle might be.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know whether they're going to be, you know, good caretakers of the property.
Yeah.
I've had situations where when someone has moved out, I've had to completely refurbish the entire apartment. Everything. I don't complain about it. It is what it is. You know, so what I try and do is to vet where we feel comfortable and confident that the person is going to be not just responsible in the commitment to paying the rent, but in taking care of the property.
Yeah.
And I'm a landlord. I do not get into people's business. The only time they see me is by chance. I don't go looking about where they are or checking on this or that. No. I only hear from them if it's a problem. Oh, there's a leak, or or I don't know, man. It seems like there's some wind still getting in the window, man. I got it closed, you know, or the air conditioner's not working, or whatever. I mean, there are maintenance issues that come up from time to time, not major problems, you know. At least not until someone vacates the property.
Then you're like, oh,
nice, yeah, man. We made a good decision. And then other times is, my good God, who was in here?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I think you're right. Like, I think a lot of, when I talk to people who rent out their place, they say, I do have resistance to renting to young Bermudians because the lifestyle, if I take a 35-year-old man who's married, they have a different level of responsibility, of care, because they know that their job is connected to their house, and therefore there's just a different level of foresight. And some of that is understandable. And I think that's where we can talk about what the government can do to buffer it, because everyone is just making a rational choice. I don't think people are being deliberately, I don't want to rent to Bermudians. Actually, maybe some people are saying that. Maybe some people frankly are.
And those that would be, most times, I would assume, is because of the experiences. Similar to taxi operators, those who own taxis. They have some very responsible, creme de la creme, frontline ambassadors as taxi drivers. And then you got those that couldn't give a hoot. They will scratch the car up. They will allow people to smoke in the car maybe, or, you know, pick people up from the beach without making sure that they've washed the sand off their sandals, kind of thing. And the owner of the taxi would say, you know, this is the terms and conditions upon which I'm prepared to rent you.
Exactly.
I want this amount every week. There's to be no smoking in the car. I want you to keep the outside of the car clean as well as the inside. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there are those that would completely comply. No problem at all. But then there are others, they couldn't give a hoot. And what about the ones that might get in an accident that is their fault? There is no lien against the driver.
Yeah.
The driver walks away and finds another taxi to drive.
But now the taxi's out of commission, you're out of work.
Well, the insurance premium goes up. You
That
still got to
too.
get it fixed.
Yeah.
The deductible goes up if it's damage that you caused yourself.
Okay.
All of these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And, you know, so people on the other side of the coin, well, that's the part of, that's the risk you take, and that's the cost of doing business as a taxi owner, and blah, 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 blah. No, that's not necessary. And so now what that tends to lead to is those owners that might be not so young anymore and prepared to do a 16-hour shift or an 8-hour shift for that matter. And their taxi sits for 8 hours. But by law, it's supposed to be on the road for 16. Not you as the owner and driver.
Just the car.
Just the car.
Yeah.
Which means you are forced to be an employer, which is not a bad thing as a policy.
Yeah.
And it provides an opportunity for someone to make an honest living, at the same time to interact with guests to the country.
Yeah.
And based on how they conduct themselves as a taxi ambassador, the fare is one thing, but the tip is a completely different thing. And I've heard of some drivers getting $100 tip, a $50 tip, because of how they have engaged in conversation from the airport to Cambridge Beaches, or from the airport to Hamilton Princess.
Yeah.
And so the guests, because they've taken the scenic route and given a kind of ambassadorship introduction to a first-time visitor, that first-time visitor might say, "Hey, Billy, are you going to be available to give me a tour?"
Exactly. That's always how it happens. Like, even when I travel, I'm like, you're available for the week?
Yeah. And then if the tour goes really well, say, hey, Billy, where's the best golf course? Where should I play?
Exactly.
Oh, hey, Billy, listen, man, there's some really nice restaurants I hear. What would you... I want to eat some really good Italian food.
Yes.
Or I want some really good Oriental food. Or I want some really good Caribbean food.
Yeah.
That's the ambassadorship that comes with that job.
It's such an important industry.
And if that experience in total is really, really good, that's what spawns the consideration, without them even knowing, of becoming a repeat visitor, or what we call a recidivist tourist, where they can't wait to bring a friend or another family member or to refer Bermuda.
Yep.
And those are the kinds of things that many people may not take into consideration. It's for some a job.
Yeah.
You know, for others it's more than that.
Yeah.
And for those that are, you know, at that twilight age where they are not prepared and don't have to drive the taxi for 16 hours, they're going to be very selective on who they allow to drive their taxi. And I can understand that.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this case, right? Passion, you have to have passion for an industry like that. I mean, for all things, but for this.
Particularly.
Yeah.
Magic 102.7, good afternoon. You're on the air. I got 6 more minutes with our in-studio guest.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Blakeney and your guest. There are some nationalities that rent 2-bedroom apartments, one, 2-bedroom apartment, but they have like like excessive number of persons living in that apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you said that you don't check, but I think there are some landlords that do need to check.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to call nationalities
Right.
by name,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like, you drive by.
Well, I think, that a lot of those landlords are not naive and not being hoodwinked. I think, if not all, or a majority, there are at least a significant amount that will let those tenants, whoever the lead tenant might be, say, look, if you got a couple of friends, you just need to get a couple of beds. But it's going to cost each of them the same rent.
Well, that's what should happen.
Well, I think that's what is happening in a lot of cases.
Because
Because I don't think many landlords is going to, if they're renting it to one or two people, they're not going to allow an inordinate amount of additional people to be in that premises.
Yeah, because it's some,
If it's just one other person, maybe two, depending on the size, they may just overlook it because they're getting the rent on time. They have no worries. Person is respectful of the property, that kind of thing. And I say, nah, you know what? It's even better for them because they're probably charging them, a third of the rent. So they're only paying a third of the rent.
Yeah.
No big deal necessarily. But if you're talking about 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 in a one bedroom, that's a different situation. And I don't think that the landlord, unless they're not living on the property and not checking, would allow that to go on without being compensated.
Yeah, well, you see in some of the houses, it's 8 to 10 bicycles there at a time. And they seem to be rotating. You may,
Yeah, no, I've heard about that, yeah.
And this...
But again, you'd have to find out if it is by, deceit, or behind the landlord's back, or if it's with the blessing of the landlord because the landlord is benefiting.
But as a citizen, you can't go and speak to a landlord and point these things out to him because the first thing he's going to tell you, it's my house and it's none of your business.
And he's right.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
And then where are you
So
at?
these are the quagmires of life. Not just particular to Bermuda either.
I know. Well, once you see
You got people in the United States that are being rounded up by ICE and just killed. Just shot in the head. I mean,
right,
yeah.
I don't.
Thank God for Bermuda, I can tell you.
I don't particularly agree with all of that.
Yeah.
But if you're living in a neighborhood and you see 10 bicycles in the yard on a consistent basis, then
So you have observed a similar situation?
Yes.
So you know the landlord?
Yes.
Does the landlord live on the property?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's a 2-bedroom cottage.
So make an anonymous phone call and say, hey, listen, Blackie, I think you should be getting at least, another $2,000 for all these people that are living at your apartment, and hang up the phone.
And
maybe if Blackie isn't in the deal, he'll go by and have a look and see the 10 bikes in the yard.
And I think the neighborhood knows.
Yeah.
But they can't do anything. They're like me. You can't say anything.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's going to tell you it's my house, none of your business. Where do we go from there? Do we go to what's the next avenue that we should pursue?
I think you should go to rent control, where there could be some level of investigation because, number one, you could be talking about hygiene and other concerns that there could be. If there are several bikes, I don't think there's any law on how many bikes could be attached to an address. Like there are four-wheel vehicles, such as private cars. You have to have an assessment number to be able to park a car on the property. And if you don't,
but you don't need that for bicycles.
But you don't need that for bicycles, right?
Unfortunately,
a situation like that could probably be easily addressed if you say, okay, 2 bikes per resident or 3 bikes. Even if you say 3 bikes, that would be reasonable for, a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment. And, you have to have an assessment number. They go through the data and say, hey, no, it's 3 assessment numbers already allocated to that property. There's no more bikes allowed to be registered under that address. That could be something, because the choice and the preference for even those that are coming as guest workers, because of the costs of gas and the cost of maintaining a vehicle that's got 4 wheels, the cost of purchasing one, even on the secondhand market,
it's up there.
is cost prohibitive for some, no matter how much money they're making, compared to where they come from. And that's most times what they do the comparison analysis against, what they are used to. So they say, you know what, I can get there, here, and everywhere with the bike. So I'm gonna get a bike. It's cheaper, easy to maintain. You're breathing air and all kinds of stuff. So they're depend, because I would think population of bikes on the road far surpass private cars.
They do.
And we can tell that by the third line of traffic of people trying to get to work on time, right?
Yeah.
So if our transportation department looked at some of the issues that might be having to be addressed or expressed as concerns by the general population, they may do a revamp of the law and look at ways to amend the law that makes sense and helps to make it a more sustainable policy for our use of the roads.
Yeah, well, I just mentioned it, but I knew it's no small thing to address. Because whilst we have to give an assessment number for your license for your car, I don't know if that would be practical for a scooter.
No. I'm saying, if they decided, for a residential address, there could only be 3 bikes, let's say, allowed to be registered under that address. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that could be.
So I mean, they could think it through, because people the bikes are the transportation of choice for many in this community. There's an incredible amount of bikes. Sometimes you find it very difficult in the city of Hamilton to find a bike parking bay.
I know.
I never would have thought I would have seen that. Cars, yes, but bikes. There are a lot of bikes.
World.
Well, thank you, sir.
One quick thing.
Okay.
I'd like to say is that we're getting ready for a census.
Yes.
Would it not be practical for us in Bermuda to have a green card system, which would be much easier for immigration to be able to regulate the number of persons?
Well, we have permanent resident status in Bermuda.
I know you have Bermuda residents.
Yeah, permanent residents. This is the same thing.
Okay.
As their green card system. So as long as you live within the law, you have the same rights and privileges for the most part, save and except the ability to vote.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I wasn't totally aware of that system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you would know because you've been a politician. Don't say what I was.
Right. Well, the thing is that it's all kinds of things that go around that even now because, people are claiming human rights issues and that kind of thing because after you have been a permanent resident for X amount of years, then you qualify to apply for Bermuda status, which gives you the right of citizenship. And it's okay. Well, what's the sustainable number? How do we determine that? And all that kind of stuff. And that's why there is such a huge challenge for immigration. Because again, as I said, you've got only so much mass land. So if you can't build out, you got to build up. If you decide you're going to build up, how far up do you go? And what kind of resistance and pushback will you get from the community, particularly with the advocacy of the Bermuda National Trust and other environmental organizations that don't feel it is in the best interest of the country long term as far as our sustainability is concerned, to be having, buildings 11, 12 stories. But 100 years down the road, who's not to say that there won't be 15 or 20-story buildings in Bermuda?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
particularly if the Department of Planning decide it is something that could be sustained. We have worked out some kind of infrastructure with, some other kind of transportation means, whether it's a train or a drone, where we can sustain ourselves without too much of a challenge because we've got the refuse that comes with human residential populations where what we defecate has to go somewhere, and that has an impact on the environment. Yeah. How do we manage that in a way that's responsible, that maintains a level of hygiene, a level of environmentally clean, spaces, and the whole 9 yards? And we're not even talking about more people come, more pets come.
Oh, yeah.
Dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And then the more trash comes, there are more chickens being hatched.
Yeah, because I remember
in the environment based on the feral chicken population, which we can't even get that under control.
Mm-hmm. Can't get rid of them, eh?
Yeah.
I remember some years ago that they found feces or rubbish off of Great Bay.
Yep, I remember.
And they had to address that.
Yeah, of course.
Since you said that.
Yeah. Could have been a leak in one of the pipes, because most of the sewage from our major, the Corporation of Hamilton, let's say, the major hotels, that sewage must be treated, and then it is exported out into the ocean.
Right. Yeah.
But it has to be treated, and I don't know, with all kinds of cancers that we have, and we don't know what's happening. Many of us during the summer months are in the ocean. Is that sewage really being treated the way it should be treated? And if it is, who can attest to that? Mm-hmm. Is it being monitored by the regulatory authorities responsible for ensuring that those who have a responsibility to ensure sewage is treated is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing? Mm-hmm. Or are there cheaters that could be contributing to certain health concerns?
Yes, I will.
Don't know, just asking a question.
Good question.
I would totally agree with you. And as far as immigration is concerned, it's been totally changed. And I'm just glad that my grandfather came up here between 1910 and was not subject to that, because I wouldn't have been here around.
Well, I'm glad my great-grandfather and grandmother did too. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm enjoying the program.
All right, well, we're just about ready to end it, so I think we're ending it on a good note, sir.
All right.
All right, have a good one.
You too, sir, as well as your guest. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Well, Teray, this has been beautiful. How time flies.
I had so much fun.
And look at the fun. It's still going. Every line. So we're not going to keep you any longer because I know you're already 9 minutes late.
It's okay. That's okay. It's okay. 9 minutes well spent.
But thank you so very, very much.
Thank you. I had a blast. I can't believe this is the first time.
Yeah.
We've done this.
Well, we're going to do it again, and I have good news for the general public. Teray has accepted the invitation to have her and her colleagues, members of YouthNet, consider an option that has been extended for them to have at least an hour show on Hot 107.5, possibly one day a week on a weekend, to connect with the youth.
Connect.
Because they're Youth Connect. Mm-hmm. And that's what the program would be called. Youth Connect on Hot. That's what you got.
Love it. Youth Connect on Hot. That's what you got. That's the entire slogan right there.
So once again, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I glory in your spirit. You have such a wonderful personality. All the very best to you. Good health, joy, even among the heavy
The birds.
studying that you got to be doing in your last and final year for your master's degree.
Home stretch.
I know
6
you're going to
months
do
left.
it with
Hey.
flying colors. So you're here now on your Christmas break?
Yeah.
When are you due back in university?
End January.
And what university are you attending?
Oxford.
Wow. That's something that would be equivalent to an Ivy League in the United States of America, right? They don't play.
They don't play. They don't play, which is why I'm taking my break seriously.
Awesome. Yeah. So what are you concentrating on as far as your career path is concerned?
I'm doing the master's in comparative government, but that doesn't mean I want to work in government. I'm doing like economics and policy.
No, you'll be working in policy and
I
making
won't.
sure that the people in government
Glenn,
are doing what they're
please.
supposed to. I'm speaking that into reality. I think with the training, the experience at a young age, you would be destined on a trajectory for maybe about 30, 35 to be elected in the legislature.
I think some people want that.
I'm
I don't know if I
sure.
want it.
Yeah, well, you got to want it. So we'll just leave it at that. They say leave well enough alone. And, if things continue on the path that they're going, I think you may be compelled to say, I can make a difference. I'm going to be the change that I want with people of like minds, whatever side of the political divide. We're going to get this thing even better than it is. I think at some point in time, it could possibly. I may not be around, but you remember these words on this day.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. Thank you so much.
And when you walk around and do the canvassing, I didn't like canvassing, but when you walk around and you give that potential voter that $1 trillion smile, oh boy, you're just going to have to be at the polling station and do it all over again. Just smile and oh boy.
Just smile and wave. That's what I say. Just smile and wave, folks.
And they'll be saying, yeah, we know she's got it. She's got more than air between the ears. So yeah, she's our girl.
Oh, but thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome, yeah. So our very special guest this afternoon from YouthNet has been Teray Tall, and she's a university student at Oxford in the UK. She's here on our Christmas break, and she so kindly came by just to have a meeting to express some interest in what it is that she felt we might be willing to consider. And I considered it, and I think we are going to be moving forward with it. And I'm very, very excited about it because she's a wonderful, wonderful lady, even just meeting her. And I do know her, one happens to be my cousin, Ajay Peets. And then we've got Veronica Evan de Graaf and Haley Tierk, or Tirsch? TR. Okay. Who make up YouthNet. And so we're going to be looking for some great things from YouthNet in the not-too-distant future here at Inter-Island Communications Limited. We're going to be back for the final 17 minutes or so here on Magic after this.
Magic.
Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Blakeney. Yes, I was trying to get in before your guest left, but I want to wish you and your team and your family a good 2026.
Thank you. Many happy returns to you and your family as well.
Yes, sir. I was trying to actually get in while your guest was there, reference to, I think they were talking reference to persons living overseas, right?
Yes.
Making them eligible to enable and to vote.
Yes.
I've been thinking about this for some time, and for instance, like in the United States, a lot of persons that reside in the United States that are Bermudians or other, they have to now. The state has imposed that they can live in the States no more than 6 months out of the calendar year. Even us traveling from Bermuda to the United States, a lot of people don't know that. You cannot live or go go back and forth to the States. If you go over that 6 months, they can stop you at the border or even at the airport.
That's correct.
That's something that government or the powers that we can look at to making persons out where they can vote if they can reside in Bermuda. Well, there's 3 months to 6 months within that calendar year, and that could be something that they can look at. But by that, I think with your question, you're asking them about persons contributing, back to the island, even though they live in other parts of the world. But if they come and live in Bermuda, so many months out of that calendar year, that means automatically they're going to be contributing, like whether it's paying for rent or to their homes or paying some form of taxes, X, Y, Z.
Yeah, or just buying necessary goods to survive, to live.
Exactly, right. And that can make them eligible where they're at least putting, even though they reside, they also have homes in other parts of the world. At least they're coming and putting something back, to the island. The other thing, I hear a lot of persons bashing homeowners because of rent and so on. Yeah. But as you know, I know that you are a homeowner and you have rentals. But persons forget, Mr. Blakeney, the money that we as homeowners have to spend, weekly, yearly. Absolutely. Leaving out taxes, and I'm not even talking about painting, upgrading houses. For instance, like we all have a house like that's over 40 plus years old, right? We just spent, I'm not giving you a number, but to renovate, remember houses that were built 45 years ago. They weren't built with the PVC pipe that we're using now.
That's right. Yeah.
All those houses over 42, 45 years ago, they used the metal pipe. And what we're finding with a lot of houses, over 100% of the houses that were built at that given time with the metal pipe, what's been happening with the walls? Bursting out, pipes rusting out, wires haven't been used their time span and so on and so on. Fuses and everything. Just doing that. Yeah. Leaving out, tile and floors cracking and everything.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Up to a code, number one, or to bring it where your tenants can live comfortably without any issues, electrical issues and water issues and building / walls cracking and so on. Yeah. So I hear a lot of people slashing us homeowners, but I mean, for instance, one apartment that we had to just renovate, out of my time, or my family time, leaving or getting 70% of items bought in from overseas where we're saving a little, that each apartment, easy, $35,000. Yeah. For the 3 apartments, man, Mr. Blakeney, what we spent to bring it up to a good standard to make it, safe and suitable. Yeah. So, yes, I understand the person's plight, but, not everybody in Bermuda can be a homeowner. That's right. But if they do become a homeowner, they will see what we all are faced with, leaving out the taxes on the
Oh yeah. And then you got to make a decision. If you want to command a reasonable rent, whether you're going to rent it unfurnished or furnished. And furnished or half furnished where there is utilities, a stove and a refrigerator. You get a tenant comes in there, they don't clean the stove or they don't clean the refrigerator. You got to replace that when they leave.
I mean, just to replace it when they leave, and just leave it out if they have paid you your rent.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, they leave and they're left.
Yeah.
You're left with thousands of dollars earning. You know.
Yep.
And you can't get your money back because they go to court. They can just pay $1 on each. A cent on each dollar, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, actually, it's sometimes it's discouraging for a person that are earning houses and say, like, I'm going to go do all of this, pay all this money. I mean, just for painting alone. I mean, I do my own painting, but man, pricing. I just got pricing to see, what is the market out there, right?
Yeah.
Just to paint the roof, Mr. Blakeney, is like. Where it used to be $600-800, you better triple that by now.
Oh, don't I know?
And I'm talking just a little thing to it.
Yep, and it's going to last you for about 2 years good, and then you got to get it done again.
Right, 2 years, man. The paint that they're doing now, you got to paint your house every year.
Jeez.
I mean, you can get 3 to 5 years out of it.
Yeah.
And for instance, like 5 years ago, 5-gallon pail of paint, $169. You get the same 5-gallon paint is $300 some more dollars. So I'm saying all of that. That's just a snippet on a lot of the listeners.
Sure.
Bashing the homeowners, right?
Yep.
Until you get it yourself, ownership of yourself, you will see.
Yeah.
What we're all faced with,
and the sacrifice that it's taken to actually acquire a property in Bermuda. Is monumental.
And just to I'm saying, like, I mean, I give kudos to anybody that's buying property in Bermuda now. Boy, it's I know that I'm not going to do it because it's quadruple than what I paid for it.
Right. And half the size.
But your earnings are not guaranteed no more. You can have a great job or whatever, and next day and you can't use your swipe card.
Yeah.
But the other thing is the banks. That's right. I thank the PLP party and the premier trying to put emphasis on the banks, because the banks they haven't really given us any breaks.
No.
I mean, you look at the breaks when it was the COVID. They gave us a grace period.
Mm-hmm.
But when COVID was lifted, Mr. Blakeney, the next few months, what happened with the interest rate?
Mm-hmm. And that's when the government responded to say, listen, if you are not happy with your interest rate, you can take your mortgage somewhere else.
But the rate is going up like 80%, sometimes much more.
Yeah.
But that's where I know the PLP and the premier has been trying to tell the banks, look, everybody else is sacrificing. Let's make it bearable. Let's give us as homeowners / borrowers of the bank, whether you were getting loans or whatever, make it where it's also the banks got to do their part as well.
Yeah.
And that's where I believe the banks have to really do a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But not little, much better.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to, yes, that's why a lot of persons are going overseas.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling whatever they got here, going overseas, buying home or property, whatever. But you look at the interest rate,
mm-hmm.
From anywhere else, around the world.
Yeah.
And that's where I think if it starts there, that's where it would spin off to other areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if my highest commitment, I gotta like pay, find money to pay my mortgage.
Sure.
So that means that I can't go out there and buy a lobster.
Mm-hmm.
I still gotta eat crackers and tuna fish.
Yeah.
But Mr. Blake,
I mean, there's real talk.
Real talk.
Yeah.
Real talk. And I'm talking real talk. Yeah. My name is Mr. Blake. It's nice hearing your voice again.
Thank you.
Kudos to you and your team. Again, wish you all the success. even balance staff and for this year. And they also great help as well.
Thank you. Likewise, my friend. I wish the very same for you and your loved ones. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Okay, bye.
Magic 102.7. Okay. I'll take one more call if I get one more call. I thought I had one more call. Here's the last call for this afternoon at, what is it, about 2 minutes before the top of the hour. Magic 102.7. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
I don't know if you want to wait for the next call, but it's me again. But if you want to, I'll hang up. But
I'm gonna make you the last call.
Okay, I just listened to that gentleman, and he did bring up some good points. Is the expense that it costs for homeowners to be able to, rent out to Bermudians. All Bermudians is just looking or saying, like I brought up from the very beginning, the amount of money in which that they're actually getting paid and trying to raise a family needs to be taken into consideration in that. But when he brought up about the bank, was a very good part that I think he brought up, and he is right that the government has tried to negotiate with the bank. But here's the issue when it comes to the banks now, and how they are treating homeowners, especially the ones who paid the mortgage. They have the deeds in their hands, but those deeds is not worth nothing to the bank anymore. Years ago, you'd be able to take your deeds down and get a loan or buy the property next door, this or that, by using your deeds as collateral. But today, you can't do that. At the age of 50 years old, if you want to go buy a car and you got the deeds in your hands to go down to the bank, you know what they can tell you? You better bring your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren down to sign off for just buying that car. Your equity that you built up in that home of $2,500,000 that some of them have out there is nothing to them. When you get to the age of 50 to 65, the equity that you built up in that home is no value. It's no value to you as a homeowner anymore. It's no value. You can't use it for collateral. You can't use it for that. That's something that the government may have a chance or should have a chance to look into. If you've been through the bank and paid them the full mortgage on that house, you have the deeds in your hands, that's equity in which that you built up in that home that should be able to be used for credit. People who has got their mortgage paid off should not be blocked by not able to borrow money off of that equity in which they're built up in their homes. It's an insult to that person who's paid the interest and paid everything. You come back to the bank and say, yes, I paid off everything that you say, yeah, I owe you, and I have my deed shared of mine. My house is worth $2,500,000 or whatever the case, and I need to borrow. I would like to borrow another $100,000 or whatever the case may be to add on or to buy another house or whatever for my son, grandson, or whatever the case. They should be able to use that equity, but it's being blocked now. Once you get to the age of 50 to 65, the value that you have in your home at $250 million or $2 million, whatever, is no value to you now. You can go down to the bank with your deeds in hand, and you ain't going to get nothing unless you got a younger family member to sign off with you with that deed. And I think that's an insult to the people that paid that very same bank all of that money, all of that interest on that property, and that's something that needs to be looked into. If you build up equity in that home, that equity should stand for something in borrowing anything that is needed from this very same bank in which that you bought it from, or with the institution that you bought it from. It should mean something, and this is one of the problems.
I see your point. You make a very interesting point, but as a bank. The bank has to protect its shareholders for one, and some of their policies certainly over the years have been extremely predatory. But on principle, based on the example that you've given, if let's say it's someone that's 65 years old, they might have a criteria based on the averages of law. So if the average lifespan of an individual who doesn't have any health issues still doesn't guarantee that they're not going to just drop down and pass. But on average, if it is, let's say, 75, and you're 65, Well, there's so much to look at. Even if you're going to live until you're 85, what's your means of income to service the loan? They're going to take a lien on the property. But even if they take a lien on the property, do they necessarily want to possess the property? If you're next of kin or whoever you leave in your will, or if there is no will and there's a fight between family members, how are they going to get the money back without taking possession of the property?
Okay, and that does all good points. Which has been mentioned by the banks in that sense of age and able to pay back that loan or whatever the case may be. But they're still disrespecting the equity in which that the people has built up in that house, and that still needs to be taken into consideration.
I get your point on that. So if they were to look at it in a way that could be fair, they could say, on a limited basis, based on, a means test and an assessment on how you would be able to service the loan. They might have a what you call a tier level. So if you are 65 years old, you might be able to get up to $50,000, let's say.
Right.
Or if you're 55 years old, you might be able to get up to $100,000. Now, again, that could depend on the individual, because are you an individual as a retiree? Are you an individual that is getting X amount of income still because the property has rental income? Or are you sitting on a board and being paid a stipend? So hold on. So they're going to look at a criteria on the individual, because what their concern is for you to being able to service what they're going to give you. So it can be a broad brush. It has to be on an individual basis. Some people might have, they might be, listen, they might be, they might be 80 years old, and they go into the bank and they ask for, I want to put some value in the house. I want to upgrade it, blah, blah, blah. I need $100,000. They're 80 years old. The bank looks at them and says, well, I see, Mr. Smith, you have 3 properties. Okay, we're going to hold 1 property as collateral. Here, take your $100,000. So it depends on the individual, how they qualify in being able to service the loan. It's as simple as that.
Okay, Mr. Blake, I was looking at it in the instance of what that gentleman was saying, how the amount of money that he has to take to renovate his apartment in order to get equity back into the house and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So I'm saying, when you have people like that who has an old Bermuda home, who has a home in general, and would like to renovate this apartment to bring back that, the interest or the money, that these are the people.
Well, I think that he's done it, and he said because of the investment, he made a joke that I'm back to eating tuna fish. So, but that's a choice you make in the interest of not just yourself, but in the property itself, because you're adding value to the property. Now, we don't know what his circumstances are. His property could be producing some income. It could be producing half of what he needs to service as a mortgage.
If you're going to use it to bring in income, that should be something they should take into account.
Well, I think maybe that's why he's sacrificing and eating tuna fish sandwiches, because he met the criteria. They gave him what he needed to upgrade with whatever he needed to upgrade, and now he's got more equity in the house. It's a bit of a sacrifice for now, but it's not going to last forever.
No. But you know what would be a good move for seniors, in the sense that they built up this equity in the house. Let's say the house is worth $1,500,000. They have the deeds in hand. They do have outside family members, children, this and that and other, and they are now living like the banks tell you, you're property rich and cash poor. And that's the position that you end up in after you reach these certain ages, to be able to do things and enjoy life for yourself. So I'm just saying to them like this: sell the property, enjoy your life with the money that you get. You can afford to pay your rent, even if you have to go back to that. But at least you can live and have the equity. After you finish, if you want to drop the kids $100,000 or $100,000, after you finish enjoying your life, you would enjoy it better. But just to sit up on the hill and say, oh, I earned this and I earned that, and oh, you're back to paying rent. But you can afford to do that. You can afford to be able to enjoy your life better, other than sitting up in there, again, property rich, cash poor, can't go to the bank, get a new car. You can't even go to the bank to get money from them to even renovate your apartment without bringing Tom, Dick, and Harry down there to sign the paper for you to get a loan because they're looking at your age or whatever.
Well,
Very
you know, in the United States, they have something, I believe, that started out very well. I don't know if it's still something that is an option for seniors, particularly. But Rodney Smith was someone that was trying to educate people and suggesting it would or could possibly be something very appealing to a senior citizen that was asset rich, property rich, but cash poor, by way of a reverse mortgage.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how the banks felt about that, but we haven't heard much other than Rodney, and many, didn't. It wasn't a hook for many. They didn't bite it.
That is something that could be looked at, but we'll still take the bank's decision to take on that risk.
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying in the sense, but the disrespectful part of getting to that age and has
I don't think it's disrespectful. I think it's about.
Well, I think so.
It's about. Well, would you call the bank possessed?
I'm your client.
Yeah.
I've been loyal to you. I'm paid my mortgage.
Yeah.
I'm reaching the age of retirement. I want to be able to do things and enjoy life now.
Yeah.
I want, but yet if I come to you and say I need a new car, or I want to add on an apartment for my grandson or whatever, something that's been good to me, and I'm asking you for a loan, but they're telling me I got to bring my grandson to sign for it in order to get it. I mean, this is something that, to me, it looks very disrespectful to that person who's been your client for the last 50-odd years and is coming to want to do something with the equity in which that is built up in that house.
The banks have never looked with compassion. They're a business, and we all know what happened in 2000.
And if we were for money, you come in and borrow that money, you wouldn't have that money.
We all know.
And you took my interest.
We all know what happened in 2008. So, the banks had to be bailed out around the world. It wasn't as a result. It wasn't as a result of the depositors.
But look where the taxpayers' money. Look what the taxpayers' money had to do for Bank of Butterfield, and look at them now, huh? It's because of the people, the same.
The taxpayers' money also.
Well, didn't Bank of Butterfield run into trouble with the government had to secure a loan for them?
Well, yeah, but the government didn't.
Look at them on the feet right now.
Yeah,
the taxpayers' money that was back in that.
Well, hold up. The taxpayers' money would have been used as a guarantee, but the guarantee was never called.
Well, exactly. No, you don't want another Morgan's Point.
So absolutely. So what they needed is to have that sovereign guarantee so they could go out and prospect by way of inviting investors to acquire the bank, which happened.
And that same interest like that should go back to the person that has a mortgage in his hand and should be able to do the same thing that you're asking them to do in the sense of
Well, again, the bank would do that if you can prove that you're able to service the loan.
Well, should my equity service the loan if it's need be? I mean, you can.
Yes, to a degree. Yes, to a degree. But unless the bank is going to get into all of your business and find out, if
they normally do anyhow.
Yeah, but listen, beyond what they normally do, if they say, well, listen, do you have a will, and you don't want to let them know who your property is willed to, they don't want to get caught up and caught out because there is no will, let's say, and there may be 3 or 4 family members feel entitlement to the property. And then they got to deal with all kinds of court procedures.
Well, that's why I tell them you get to the age of 65, sell the property, and live off the money, and then you won't have to be worrying about that.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
It depends on the scenario. If the family feels like it is a good foundation for someone in the family, whether a child or nephew, a cousin, a brother, a sister, and they have worked hard for what they have earned by way of real property and they want it to stay in the family, then they may will it to someone in the family.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You know, the government has done the government in their infinite wisdom has done things that has been considerate of homeowners. So hold on.
I'm sorry, I'm listening.
For instance, those persons who have multiple properties, if you name, and even if you don't, if you are a homeowner and it's your only property, your primary property, then you have relaxation on land tax.
Yes, yeah, all of that, yeah.
So government is doing their role, but the banks is in banking for business. So what they need to do in being responsible to their shareholders is making sure that the same mistakes that were made with these prime equity loans, where people, let's say in the United States, were going in and saying that they had equity and they wanted a loan to do this or to do that, or they're a first-time homeowner and we are making a really good salary, we're both working, we want to buy this property. They meet the criteria. And all of a sudden they cannot service the loan. And then it grows from hundreds to thousands to millions of people that can't service the loan. So they're not paying. And in the meanwhile, the mortgages are being sold to other financial institutions down the line until it gets to that point.
You're bringing up very good points there, Mr. Blakely.
Yeah.
But, okay, could I just say this in that same point that you just brought up? In order for a Bermudian, this next generation coming up now, you're 18, 19, or say let's 20, 25 years old right now, a good job and saving money. In order for you to get in that position of it that you're in, where you end up not able to pay the loan after you have given them what? Your $150,000 or $175,000 or maybe $200,000, depending on what type of home you're looking at buying, and you have to have that cash in the bank. You have to come to the bank with that your own cash first to get in that position. You got $200,000. You want to get a house that's $1,175,000, and say $1,500,000, and they're looking at what 60% or whatever the case, 20% or whatever, and they say, okay, well you need to come up at $200,000. You have $200,000 after there's working and this and that through all the bills you paid, your rent, your this and that, and you manage to save $200,000 to get to that position of buying your own home. Even if you're living with mom and daddy, whatever the case. No, you got to that point, Mr. Blakely, of saving that money through all utilities and rents that you paid, and of course, you are able to go and get a loan and buy the thing. Or looking at your criteria, I can pay it, this and that. Something may go wrong down the line. 3 months after that, you lost your house, you lost your money, you lost your down payment. So I'm just saying to young generations that's coming up now, if you can do all of that in the sense of paying your rent, paying your trips, your this, your car, your this and that, and still able to save $200,000 to go to the bank and buy a house, why don't you just keep on saving? You can afford your rent. You're not got any stress on your head. Number two, if you're able to save that type of money to be able to get to that type of position, just imagine if you kept on saving for the next 50 or 25 years, which is going to take you to pay off for that mortgage.
So what a prudent young person in a situation based on your scenario might do as far as an analytical assessment and critical thinking on a situation is, notwithstanding cash being king, is look at it and say,
cash is king.
Hold on, listen. He might say, you know what? We might have to pay, based on our lifestyle, $5,000. Let's just say.
They're paying that anyhow.
There you go, right? To rent the property.
But I mean,
but hold on. But for the house or the condominium apartment, based on the amount we have to put down, our monthly payments is going to be $4,500. So we're still able to save $500 as opposed to having to pay $500 more in rent.
Right. Okay.
So we might as well pay that because we're going to be paying something monthly anyway, and we're paying towards owning as opposed to being a perpetual renter.
Yes, earning, yes. The only problem towards that, the risk in which that would take towards that, you're going to give the bank your $200,000 to get that loan to buy that house.
And you got that equity in the house. So if the house has to be sold and it sells for $400,000, you're going to get your $200,000 back, provided it's sold to the degree that the bank gets what they're owed.
Well, I don't know if that's the case.
Well, that's a smart.
If
the bank,
I'm hearing that even though it's
if the bank is about to repossess
you still end up having to pay off the loan for the house.
If the bank, here's what I'm saying. If you find out that the bank is about to repossess your house because you can't service the mortgage, all right?
Yeah.
And you know there's market value and nobody knows what your issue is. Nobody knows. You keep that close to your chest, that you're under financial stress. You're just making a decision because you're thinking about acquiring a different property. And you go to a real estate agent or you go to people that you feel that might be interested in the house, and you know you owe $200,000 on the house that's left to pay.
Yes.
And you have that $200,000 plus a little more equity in the house.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, wow, that's $400,000 altogether. That's all. And I'm talking about if the person bought the house for $400,000 and something went wrong, right? And you put up the $200,000. So you go out before the bank takes possession, and you sell the house for the $400,000 or maybe $500,000, so that you make $350,000 on the house.
Or if the payments after you finish getting collected.
Or whatever.
Okay, I can understand all of that, Ms. Malik. But the risk that what I'm saying is that you are taking, just like how you can fall into these background where you miss these one or two, and two payments that you miss, you could fall into that repossession coming from the bank.
Yeah, but the bank has been, as you say, relatively predatory. That's been a problem that somehow needs to be addressed. But the bank has, on the other side, also been flexible in certain situations. I suppose maybe depending on who you are, where you go in and say, "Listen, I would like to defer my mortgage payment for 3 months." And they look at you and you explain what the reason might be. It could be medical, because it could be something else, and they say, "Okay." So what will happen, depending on your age, is that they will extend the date of you burning the mortgage by 3 months.
Yes.
You end up paying more interest in the meanwhile.
On top of that, yes.
But at the same time, you're getting some breathing space because of a situation. Right. So the bank, it depends on the relationship and depends on the particular circumstances. But in a lot of cases, as you bring to substantiating your point, the bank is predatory. They just want their money.
Right. All I'm saying to the next generation, Mr. Blakely, in the sense of that, it's more safer. It's more economical for you. It may not seem like it, but cash is king. And if you was to take the same saving initiative that you took to get to that $200,000 and able to pay your rent and this and that and the other, that you're paying your trips or whatever, and still able to save, keep on saving. Because at the end of 20 years, you could have $1,500,000 or more in the bank collecting interest, other than getting to that particular age and being property rich and cash poor, and ended up living like,
that might be,
say that I earned this, I earned that, but I can't really do nothing.
Not everybody could be a homeowner, as we heard.
Exactly.
However,
you can't be a cash carrier.
But however, those who are
at no risk.
Those who are responsible, those who understand how to plan with regard to leveraging their finances, whether it's themselves or with a professional, they will consider on merit what would be in their best interest, depending on their particular personal aspirations.
Yeah,
if it's a single, if it's a single person, you know, there's a set of circumstances. If it's a married couple, it's a set of circumstances, and they'll look and make an assessment and make a decision that they feel is in their best interests, because there are many people in a similar scenario that would do quite well in investing their money into purchasing a home with that $200,000 and have no issue. That might not be the common opportunity that many people have, but those that do have those opportunities, I think it would be depending on their age and their particular circumstances. Of course, well, it could be and would be potentially a very good investment
that we have with the banks, with the relationships that we have with the bank. For the next generation, I would say to them, the minute you get up to $200,000, you're living a comfortable life. I don't care if you're paying rent. I don't care if you're looking at one earning a home or whatever, but you're in the best position to live a comfortable life. By the time you reach the age of 50, you should be able to have $1 million plus something in the bank, living comfortably just the way you were living before, and not having the stress.
We know that.
To be able to say, if I miss 2 months or 3 months of my payment, I'm lost all of that equity, and get up to the age of 65, and you ain't got the equity that you built up in your home isn't worth nothing to you.
Well, the thing is that, you know, we can talk today and forever about different scenarios.
Yes, we can.
But the thing is that
cash is king.
So it might be said, depending on how much cash you've got. But the thing that you must remember is that cash is not a hard asset. And cash and the value of cash fluctuates from day to day. And if there is any kind of a disaster, like what happened in 2008, and those ATM machines didn't spit out your $200,000, and in a similar scenario, you had taken that $200,000 and invested it in a real property, at least you got a hard asset with equity.
Nope.
They just can't take it from you.
It only lasts until you're 50.
It lasts for as long as you own the property.
Nope.
Yes, it does. The equity lasts for, if people don't want to recognize the equity, that's one thing. You're talking about banks, but there are individuals that you could go to or put the house on the market for sale. And it doesn't even go through the bank until it's time for it to be conveyed and lawyers get involved or whatever.
Right.
So it's not like you don't have options that could circumvent the bank in the initiating of cashing in on your equity.
Yes, right. I'm saying you can do that. I mean, that'd be the smartest thing to do.
People are smart. People that invest their money are smart. Listen, people that invest their money are smart, but it doesn't mean that they're still going to be successful. There have been many smart people that invested their money in various things and have gone bust. Could be the stock market. It could be real property. It could be a casino. It could be a ship or whatever.
Yep.
So it's nothing under the sun is new, and it's nothing under the sun that's guaranteed.
Right.
So what you need to do is assess based on your particular circumstances as to what would be a calculated, measured risk that makes sense for you at the time you're going to make a decision to do what you want to do with what you have as an asset, whether it be cash or real property.
Right, but the real risk that you would take is to give all of that money to the bank and say you want to buy a house. That's the big risk.
Well, you're getting in return. You're getting in return.
You can't guarantee it.
You're getting the interest in the house.
You can't guarantee it. The only thing you can guarantee is to look at how you got there from the beginning. If I can get you $200,000.
Yeah, but what stops you? Listen, but you're missing. Hold on a second. If you were able to save the $200,000 and you get to $200,000 and you say, you know what, I'm going to invest it now. I'm going to invest in some volatile stocks. I'm going to invest in some conservative stocks, or I'm going to invest in, or I'm going to invest in real property, or I'm going to invest in a business opportunity. It's all about risk and calculated risk. Nothing is guaranteed. So if you have, in this scenario that you're bringing to the front, if you decide that you're going to invest your $200,000 in real estate, and you have worked out a way where you can save, you may be smart enough to say, you know what, I'm investing in this real estate, and that $200,000 that I'm putting up for this property that's worth $1 million or whatever, I'm still going to rent. Because the investment is going to pay for itself at least for the next 15 years, because I'm not going to live in the house. I'm going to rent it out, double the amount that I have to pay monthly to the bank. And in no time at all, I figured out that in another 10 years, I'm going to have another $300,000. Mm-hmm. So, you know, people that have that kind of cash, who have figured out how to save it under whatever circumstances they are, they're smart people. They've used their common sense. So I don't think they're going to take a risk that doesn't make sense. But I got to go. Thank you for your call. Last call. I said that was the last call, but this is the last call. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, this is #1 station in the world. And we are here to educate even those who think they know. Okay? On that note, I'm a 67-year-old man, going 68. Mm-hmm. Back in the 70s, we came out of school, my sister, brother, and I. This is the way how to do it. This is the only way it's going to happen now. And I'm going to get this. I'm writing a book on how the poor their children, because we've got to a state of respectability in our community. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to build a house by myself, but learn the economics, and by they are taught us economics. Mm. There's no way that I was going to be able to build a house for myself. So what I did was put to my elder and youngest brother, let's get together, let's build this house. We built 3 apartments, 1 roof, with 3 tanks, 3 pumps. We put it in, 1 roof. Mm-hmm. And if you don't live in it, we rent it, and we pay back the mortgage, and we build, and we sell off from each other, mm-hmm. and we continue building our own homes. Mm-hmm. Right now, mm-hmm. I'm sitting on a house that's worth $2,234,000 for this last acquisition value. Mm-hmm. My sister's living in the house that we built, and my brother has 2 houses. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm going to say is that there is a way how to beat the system, if you want to use it that way, or a way how to coincide with getting further ahead with ownership. Mm-hmm. You can do it together. This is the problem that we have, and this is the thing what I'm doing with the Corey Butterfield show, which is so extensive. And I'm trying to build up to this point here, Glenn, is that we're going to have to lower our pride and say, look, brother, sister, even cousins, look, let's get together. We're not all going to agree. Let's agree to disagree. Let's put together our pride.
Without being disagreeable.
Without being disagreeable. Yeah. You get your lawyer, whatever, and put everything in place, and you build this one house with 3 apartments, 2 townhouses, maybe 3 2-bedroom apartments, 1 roof, which cuts down, 1 lot of tanks, and there you go. And after a while, your equity, your money that you got, you're not paying. You have to move out and move around.
Yeah, instead of you working for your money's working for you.
Your money's working for you, and if you don't live in it, you rent it. Mm-hmm. And this is what we've done, sir. I'm writing a book as we speak, and it's going to be called "By the Fire," because we went through heaven and hell trying to get loans. Mm-hmm. So the house was too big. We can't do it. We'll never be able to do it. But I had a gentleman that was in the bank that sold me before, on his dying bed, I could call it, or 7 weeks before he died. He came to me and wanted to talk to me. And how the bank made him come back to us to get a loan after they refused us, because we would have built the house without him. Mm. You see, building a house, you're going to need the excavation. After a while, you just need cement and sand and block to get the walls up.
Mm-hmm.
And when they see you start climbing, they do not want to get around that 3 young people built a house in Bermuda, vote, the bank, making money off it. And this is what he told me. And I'm letting it out now so that people can start thinking in this new year of how you can get together, do things together. That's even more beautiful to do it by yourself if you want to think about it.
Yeah.
Then you can even rent it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, you can live in it, and you all never be able to kick out of your own hand. You're living a lot easier. You'll be able to take your trips and do whatever you do, build your families, and you can do it in accord of the estate value.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, like what we did, I wanted to get my hand, we put it to it. My sister bought out the stereo of my brother.
Mm.
My sister's got the house herself now.
Mm-hmm.
My brother went ahead and bought his house. That's got 2 houses.
Mm.
And I've got my house that's got 4 apartments.
Mm.
In that house. So what I'm trying to say that I want all of this naysayers and those to say that they can't. You got to think outside the box. Maybe you can't do it on your own. These banks are not here for us as handouts. They want to see some sacrificial lambs putting their hands down on the slab block.
Mm.
But that would be 3 lots of lambs. And maybe if you're married, you got 6 now. You got 6 incomes compared to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where, Glenn, I'm trying to get our people now to think with the amount of property that is not available, the amount of money that the banks are not putting out, 6 incomes, we better than 1 to build a home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my little bit of tidbit for the year starting out.
All right.
Let's start thinking about doing things together.
Yep.
In your families.
Amen.
Let's thinking about talk about it first, because we talked about it for a while.
Sure.
And everyone told us it's not going to work, but look at us now. It's working.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us say that we were lucky and whatever, but we sacrificed basically about land for about 7 straight years of building this house with blood, sweat, and tears, with lights out, building up until we turned off the mixers at maybe 11:45.
Mm-hmm.
Worked at night after night was almost the next day sometime.
Sure.
And we did it, and we did it, and we did it, and now that place there is turning in a good amount of money for my sister. My brother's got house to rent, and I have mine. And what I'm trying to say is, and like the gentleman told us, I don't want to call his name, that we were told to make sure that we get a hold of you guys before you finish this house with others.
Mm.
So, Glenn, there is a way. I haven't had no one speak on let's work together.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's work together. And I think this is where it's got to start. There's no way that some of us who think that, okay, we make a good bit of money and we're going to put it through the banks, and still tell you no. But with 3 of you, or if you're married, all of you are married, 6 of you with rents, with income, you guys could do it. Trust me, you could do it. We done it. And I'm going to tell anybody, we're in easy.
Mm-hmm.
We're in easy. You got 3 different people with 3 different ideas, and you just have a vote. And whoever says, okay, we want this style, or we want that light, or whatever, it comes down to choice.
Yeah.
On who to choose, in the months to choose it.
Yeah.
And this is the way how it has to be done, Glenn. There is a way. And I wanted to get taken out because my dad always taught us that word can't. It was the most damaging word to us blacks. Take off the apostrophe G.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Can.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
Always a privilege.
Absolutely. Enjoy the remainder of your evening. And there you go, folks. I think that's a really positive note to end it on this afternoon at 37 minutes after the hour. You've been listening to the Glenn Blakeney Show on this Tuesday afternoon. We, again, give a big shout out to YouthNet and to Ray Tull, who was a very special impromptu guest today. She's such a lovely lady. And at 24 years old, she's got a few months left. So keep her in your prayers as she strives to get her master's degree designation at Oxford University in the United Kingdom. She's here at home during her holiday season break and will be returning to university in the near future. So with that, folks, thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7 on this Tuesday afternoon. We wish you a very pleasant evening, and we encourage you to be good to yourselves. Take care of yourselves. God willing, we shall be back here on Friday at 2 o'clock. Tomorrow at 2 until 4, and Thursday from 2 until 4, it will be Corey Butterfield and Willie Ferguson.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.